I have an email here from Mike Biggerstaff, the street superintendent. I just wanted to share that the city has been, the street department has been out sweeping the city, and now that Winona State's out, they're going to be doing it again. But something he passed on to me that I'd like to pass on to the public is that the street department also operates and maintains the levee dike system. They started the flood pumps on April 15th and have been watching and maintaining them 24/7 ever since. This takes at least 3 or 4 employees away from sweeping streets or patching potholes. They will not turn the pumps off until the river gets below 10 feet, and that could still be a few weeks. At certain river levels, it takes 2 employees per shift to open or close certain gate wells along the levee system. So our street department does more than fill potholes and clean the streets. I just wanted to make people aware of that. And also a reminder that filing for elective office opens tomorrow, and there's a number of offices that are open, and that can be done here at City Hall in the city clerk's office. And I think it's 2 weeks you have to file. And a reminder that on Wednesday night in the council chambers, there will be a meeting with the city to discuss Winona State and their proposed agreement with the city for the expansion of a baseball field. And the public is certainly encouraged to come and learn about that project and to express their feelings. And then lastly, we're going to move 5.1, which is the presentation of the city finance reports, and 5.2, the presentation and award for financial reporting, up after the public hearings. So a little change in the order there. City manager, do you have anything?
No comments to make.
Okay, city clerk, read the roll call.
Okay. Mayor Peterson?
Here.
Councilmember Thurley?
Here.
Councilmember Craig?
Here.
Alexander?
Here.
Iden? Here. Borzakowski?
Here.
And Double.
Here.
Okay. The first item under required public hearings is item 2.1, a rezone request for Automotive Enterprises Incorporated.
Call the public hearing open and ask Mark Mueller to step to the microphone.
The purpose of this public hearing is to consider a request from Automotive Enterprises to rezone a 3.4 acre parcel from R1, single-family residential, to B3, which is general commercial. The parcel, for those who don't know, is currently owned by the Cornerstone Community Church and is located between the Johnstone's Addition and the current Toyota dealership on Highway 61. The Planning Commission held a public hearing of this request on April 28th, and from staff and citizen comments did recommend unanimously that the request be approved. That recommendation was based upon a modification to retain the far westerly strip of land of the rezoning site as R1, single-family residential. It was also based upon a number of conditions, the first being to the transfer of title from Cornerstone Community Church to Automotive Enterprises. Secondly, that a building permit by Automotive Enterprises be secured for a new building on the site by June 30th, 2015. If no building is built, Automotive Enterprises will need to put the site to an auto dealer used by that date. And finally, no vehicle traffic will be permitted from or to Lake Boulevard. Failure to meet any of these previous 3 standards would nullify the rezoning request. To back up, the modification that we're looking at is based upon, actually all the modification and the conditions that were imposed as part of the ordinance that you're considering tonight was based upon discussion that evolved from the Commission's public hearing. Some of the concerns that were raised were related to access through Johnstone's Addition from proposed commercial use of this site. That in part is where the 1-foot buffer comes into play. Given that buffer, we have under zoning requirements the ability to prevent the free flow of traffic from the commercial site through Johnstone's Addition. We're not saying that Dahl Automotive in this case is interested in promoting that access. Currently, they have excellent access to Highway 61, a traffic light. They really don't need to access the area through Johnstone's addition, but it is one concern that we heard, and the commission felt that it needed to certify that, prevent that from happening, if not now, but down the road sometime. The three conditions, again, were tied to the fact that, or the first two were tied to the fact that moving from an R1 zone to a B3 zone is a long ways to go. Virtually any commercial use would be permitted on the site under B3 zoning. A lot of people didn't have a problem with the car use so much because that use is subject to a 50-foot buffer from Johnstone's addition or any other residential zoning. But the concern was if the property is rezoned and the petitioner decides not to purchase it, then any use could be located on that property. So it's kind of a speculative type of concern that people had. Given that, we talked to the city attorney's office, and he suggested tying the rezoning request to a single use, that being the auto dealership. So that's the purpose of the first two conditions of the ordinance approval. The final one, no vehicle traffic will be permitted to or from Lake Boulevard, was based on the fact that as part of the rezoning of the current auto dealership that exists there right now in 1988, there was a restriction placed on that rezoning approval that prevented access to Lake Boulevard. This would do the same thing. So again, what we're trying to do here is to make sure that whatever commercial use evolves on the site is focused on Service Drive to Highway 61 and not through some adjoining residential area. The commission heard a number of other concerns related to the proposal. The applicant wasn't really in a position to respond to all of them because there was no site plan to review. So if the rezoning is approved, the next step for them would be to submit a site plan that shows more specifically what they would like to do with the property. What we are committed to do with that is to make that process very transparent. And once we receive a site plan, we will schedule that in front of the Planning Commission. We'll notify property owners again that we have the site plan. They can come in and look at that, offer comment, and comment during the Planning Commission meetings. So what we're trying to do is to at least recognize that the neighborhood is part of this. I think that in this case we understand the need that Dow has to relocate their business somewhere. This seems to be the best place to do that, in our opinion. But we just want to make sure that the neighborhood next door, which hasn't had a lot of impact over the years, is at least recognized in some way. So we're hoping that that site plan review process would accomplish that. At this point, I'm not going to go through our staff analysis in a lot of detail tonight. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to read it. But I just wanted to summarize briefly what the action was of the Planning Commission before we started.
Okay, thank you. George?
Just one question. How many votes does it need to pass?
Oh, I'm sorry. The fact that we're going from residential to commercial zoning does require a supermajority vote, which is 2/3 vote of council. So it's not just a simple majority tonight. It does require a supermajority vote in favor of the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Now I'll ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak. If so, come to the podium and state your name and address.
Sorry. Winona. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Dan Swift. I represent the Dahl Automotive family and Dahl Automotive tonight. As most of you know, we acquired the operation of Chevy Buick GMC dealership back in December of last year. Since then, knowing that we were going to be forced to move with the relocation of the bridge, we've been seeking properties. We selected the property that we felt was best for our business, as our Toyota location is on Highway 61 as well, and that is Cornerstone Community Church, which borders to the west of our property. It makes a lot of business sense, obviously, to do that, and was fitting to do so. Effective December 31st, we are being forced to move. We've had that, or we currently lease the property from Butch Walls, and he's had that notice, so that time is of the essence, obviously, for us. We are requesting that the property that we're seeking, currently occupied by Cornerstone Community Church, be rezoned from R1 to B3 so that we're able to move forward. There were three concerns that were brought up from the bordering neighborhood at the zoning commission meeting. I'd like to just to address those briefly, just to remind everybody on what we decided at that point in time. One concern was the lighting, of course, and with today's technology of LED lighting, we're able to control that light far more so than today's lighting standards. The light posts, it was questioned on how high they would be. While I don't have the exact measurement on how high they will be, most likely it's going to be in the 30-foot range. Most of the LED solutions today are in that range. The LED lighting is also angled down dramatically more so than today's lighting. So we strongly feel that being able to aim the light in the direction of the display vehicles and not the direction of the neighborhood will be of great benefit to them. The exterior PA system was brought up. Many dealerships and retail facilities utilize external paging. Our company is in the process, as we speak, of transitioning our entire company over to a higher technology phone system. That will be complete probably within 30 to 45 days, company-wide. That enables us to be able to transfer directly from our phone system to our service consultant or our sales consultant or our business leaders' cell phones. So we will eliminate exterior paging. So that will not be an issue at all. And then the other concern was water runoff. And the architectural firm that we're working with, Grease Architectural out of Neenah, Wisconsin, has many years of experience in building and engineering dealerships and the lots that the vehicles are displayed on. They do an outstanding job, always have and always will. And they will help us in that process as we design and engineer this project so that the water runoff will be managed properly. So that's about all I have, I think, at this point in time.
Any questions? George?
Would your lot be lit 24 hours at maximum lighting, or is it dimmer, let's say, like from 11 o'clock or midnight on till 5, or?
Good question. There will be some security lighting at bare minimum, just so that the vehicles are illuminated at a lower degree throughout the darkness. But from a 100% lighting, no, the capacity will be, I don't have the exact number, you're probably going down to about 10% of the lights, roughly. Don't quote me on that, but it's got to be in that range, just from a security perspective.
Al?
Mr. Swift, a couple of questions. First of all, I think people would look at the property now existing, the Toyota dealership, and they would see a building to the east rather than to the west where the church is.
Yes.
Why wasn't that part of the expansion for your Chevy store?
That actually is in our expansion plans, so just not from the Chevrolet Buick GMC perspective. General Motors has certain space requirements, square footage requirements, et cetera, that need to be met, and we were able to do so better off with a new facility to the east, or the west, I'm sorry.
And the second question is, and I know you haven't completed a site plan, but how high, or would you build on the same ground level of the existing church building, or would it be a match to the existing Toyota facility, as far as its level, you know, whether it's high or low from the existing Toyota store?
Yeah, I'm not so sure I can answer that question. Harry, would you? No, at this point in time, I just.
Your plans aren't
From a
finalized for
from a
that.
site plan perspective, we would be able to provide that information.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome, thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? State your name and address.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm Norm Costick Jr. Thank you, Mr. Swift, for addressing those issues that were talked about at the planning meeting. But, and sir, that was a good question on how high the lot is going to be, because that is a big concern for residents. I live at 1297 Lakeview Avenue. But the lighting it was one of my biggest concerns, a lot of residents' biggest concerns. And if the land is mounded up, all those LED lights are directional. And I did talk about the posts, how high the posts are going to be, how high the lights are going to be on the posts. It doesn't matter if they're directional or not. When you got a bunch of lights on, it's going to illuminate the neighborhood. And not too many people are going to be in favor of that. And then that compounded upon if that land is built up, well, if the land is built up and you've got a 30-foot pole on there, you're just going to blossom that and light up the whole neighborhood. The other concern that I didn't hear mentioned so far was I know we got about a 1-foot section to be blocked off to prevent people from driving through on Parkview Avenue between the dealership and the residence. And a proposal was put in that I didn't hear mentioned here that I'd like to see happen is some kind of barrier, matter of fact, it was brought up by one of the planning commission people, some kind of barrier that'd be, beautified, not just some concrete wall, so that people can pass through on bikes or whatever, but no cars can go through. Because one of our neighbors mentioned at the planning commission meeting that the cars are going through there. There's tire tracks here to prove it, because right now there's no barrier. And I'd like to see that addressed if all possible. And Mr. Mayor, I can't help but wonder that here we are at a public meeting, but I'm not sure how public it is because I did not see this meeting addressed. We got the letters and all that, but I did not see it addressed in the Winona Daily News, which is the official newspaper of the city. And in accordance with Winona's own Winona County zoning ordinance laws, that's supposed to be published 10 days prior. And I can't help but wonder how many more people would be here to address the situations, bring up more concerns, maybe even bring some suggestions had that meeting been publicized as it should have 10 days prior to this evening. And that was also not done. That's the second time in a row. It was not publicized in the paper. It mentioned that there's going to be a public meeting, but no time, date, or anything was published in the paper whatsoever. And I just want to address that concern, because as a citizen, that does concern me. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Can anybody address that concern?
I will definitely check with Monica, our city clerk, to make sure that notice was sent and find out the details of when it was sent and what was included in the announcement.
Okay.
I can contact her by email tomorrow and have an answer for you tomorrow.
Okay.
The same concern was brought up during the planning commission meetings about that meeting, and we did produce the affidavit of publication for that. Again, it'd be rare if we would miss that, and I think it was probably hit in this case too, but again, we were able to assure that the planning commission did publish their notice appropriately, and it was published 10 days before. It was supposed to be before the hearing and so on. But in this case, I'm assuming that happened. Monica, I don't think would
Would be pretty rare.
miss that one, but I don't have a copy in my file.
Okay, but you do know that the planning commission meeting was duly noted?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I've got the affidavit here that proves it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak to this issue?
Mayor and City Council. My name is Dennis Meyer, and I'm a board member with the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm going to be speaking on the behalf of the Winona Chamber today. I encourage you to vote for this rezoning. I think it's important to keep a good retail customer and commercial customer and tenant here in the city. It's one of the first opportunities we're going to have to help relocate a property that's going to be displaced because of the bridge. And from what I've gathered, the Dahl family has been very good, community-minded people, so I think they're willing to work with the neighbors and make it a viable solution that everyone can agree upon. So I encourage you to vote for this rezoning and let's move forward and be the first one of all those other businesses that we may have to do this with too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak?
Hi, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Teresa Brendel. I live at 794 Johnstone. It's our property that would be bumping right up to the car dealership. I have just one thing to say tonight. It was mentioned that if they would not come through with the plans and build the building, that it would be rezoned back to commercial. I want one little clarifier to that. I just don't want them to walk away from the situation and leave the land with dirt, piles of dirt or holes. It would have to be returned back to the condition that it is now or even better. I just don't want them to walk away from, a start of construction and leaving it in a mess. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Anybody else wish to speak to this issue? I'll ask one more time. Anybody else wish to speak? Hearing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and ask if council wants to take action.
I'll move the recommendation that was proposed earlier with the conditions as proposed.
Second.
Motion by Paul and seconded by Michelle. Other discussion?
Clarification, we're introducing the ordinance, right? That's the purpose tonight, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Pam?
Yes, I support this. However, a lot of the concerns of the neighbors, we're rezoning from residential to a general commercial area. A lot of the concerns that people have, it looks like will be taken care of at the time of the site plan review. So I think that the wisdom of the rezoning here will depend on what happens at that site plan review. Because the neighbors that close to what will now become a B3 district, the neighbors do have strong concerns about lighting and runoff and noise and a lot of the other concerns that would come up no matter what business was there if Dahl were not there. Okay, so if Dahl does not move there and some other business in 20 years moves in, the neighbors will still have a lot of the same concerns. So I'm concerned that the site plan review, the site plan be very tight and keep the complaints and the potential complaints very controlled. That's basically my comment.
Al?
Yeah, I concur with Councilperson Iden on that. I've worked with many of the neighbors over the years representing that area, and we've gone through at least one other proposed use of that site, and I think that that didn't work out, but I think it still was an economic benefit to our area. I think this will be an economic benefit. It replaces land that will be used for the bridge, so we'll lose some property tax revenue because of that, not a lot. But this will retain that property tax revenue and also really enhance it because the church itself is a nonprofit and we'll get a for-profit in there. It's a minor point, but I think it's something that, when we just had our discussion on property taxes and the taxable value of our community, that we also need to be aware of those issues. Besides the neighborhood issues and the site plan, I agree that it will be addressed.
And I just one comment that the permanent barrier to block off that 1-foot easement to make it impassable by vehicles, that is part of the site plan, so that's shut down.
Pam?
I understood though that the neighbors did want access, just pedestrian and bicycle access through there. So a permanent barrier wouldn't meet that request on the part of the neighbors.
Unsafe vehicles.
Right.
Right.
Well, I'd like to say that, there's been a lot of concern about the businesses that are being displaced by the bridge, and I think this is a very good solution to Dahl, and I think it's gonna be a real asset to the city, and I think it's really great how the planning commission and the staff have worked with the neighbors and addressing a lot of these concerns, and I'm in favor of it.
I just wanted to say I'm in favor of it as well. I want to commend the Dahl folks for taking the time to meet with the neighbors, to visit with them, and to be very flexible as this whole thing develops. So thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
The second item under the required public hearings is item 2.2, to consider vacating the alley in block 128 of the original plat.
I move to introduce the attached ordinance.
Let me declare the public
Oh, I'm
hearing
sorry.
open. And, is there anybody, the city clerk is gone. Anybody here to speak to this from the staff? Anybody here to speak to this from the public?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Stephen Peterson. I'm an attorney here in Winona, and I do represent the Cathedral of the Sacred Heart. We presented the petition, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. I find myself in kind of a unique position asking that the alley be vacated when I'm absolutely convinced there was never an alley there in the first place. And I'm not so sure that, I think the city engineering also agrees with me, because the first time I contact the city clerk, asked her if the alley had ever been vacated. She got back to me a while later and said, well, we have no record of the alley being vacated because we really have no record of the alley having existed. I think the unique situation is this particular alley does show up on the original plat for the city of Winona. I know there's two city maps from 1923, I believe, and 1958 that show the alley being closed. I can also tell you that I did contact the county recorder, Mr. Bamanek, who searched the old files and did provide me some information, one which was quite interesting. It was a court case in 1922 when it didn't involve the alley, by the way, but it involved the block, when the judge described the block as being your typical 300-foot square block, with each lot in the block being 60 feet wide by 150 feet deep, with absolutely no reference to the alley. Every conveyance that's taken place where this supposed alley exists has never made reference to the alley. This is simply, in fact, I think it was 1966, about 48 years ago. I think we're familiar with where this property is located. Cathedral School a portion of the school has been sitting on this quote-unquote alley since 1966. We're here as a cleanup item only, so that we basically get resolved once and forever that there is no alley in block 128. I can see no objection to the petition. As we speak, Cathedral owns all of the property that abuts this supposed alley. So again, we simply ask that the petition be granted, the alley be vacated, and we'll be on our merry way. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to try to answer them.
Well, Councilman Craig swears he remembers playing in that alley. So-
Playing in the alley?
Not in the alley. There's no alley there, but that little open area, and I never said I played there. I was having a Queenie racer.
Now, I can say this, despite the fact there may have never been an alley there, the good judge back in 1922 talked about there being a driveway that happened to be a private driveway. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that played in that general area because, quite frankly, it's been with either the cathedral or a predecessor to the cathedral for many, many years. And at one point in time, this is well before all of our times, there was apparently a barn there. And what the case involved in 22 wasn't the alley. It was access from Center Street to the east. Had no reference to the alley whatsoever. So again, it's simply a matter of, let's get this cleaned up so it's off the books as being an alley. We don't have to worry about it anymore. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak to the issue? I'll ask again, anybody wish to speak to this issue? One final time, anybody wish to speak to this issue? Hearing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and ask if there's action.
I still make my motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Michelle
I would second that.
and a second from Pam. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Carries.
Okay, we will now address item under new business, item 5.1, the presentation of the 2013 city financial reports.
Mayor and council, this is our annual request to the city council to accept the financial reports for the previous year, 2013. And the two reports are the comprehensive annual financial report and the schedule of federal expenditures. We spent the last hour talking about these in a work session. We have with us this evening a representative from the accounting firm of Deloitte and Touche who performed the audit, the independent audit. I would like to introduce Kirsten Vosen from Deloitte and Touche.
Thank you, members of the council and Mayor Peterson, for allowing me to be before you here today and spend the last hour walking through the financial statements with you in quite a bit of depth. I am a partner with the accounting firm of Deloitte & Touche, serving the city of Winona. As Mary mentioned, we just completed the audit. Our audit scope consisted of a report on the city of Winona's comprehensive annual financial statements, which includes the governmental activities, the business type activities, the aggregate discretely presented component unit, which is the Port Authority, each major fund, the aggregated remaining fund information, and the related notes to the financial statements. We also opined on, as Mary mentioned, the schedule of expenditures of federal awards in accordance with the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, Circular A-133. I'm happy to report in both of the instances in which we were engaged to opine on the city's financial statements, we issued clean, unqualified opinions. There were no internal control issues that we would need to bring to your attention representing material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. There were no past audit adjustments that were proposed as part of our engagement. And again, clean, unqualified opinions, no findings or scheduled or questioned costs relative to the federal awards in accordance with the Office of Management and Budget, Circular A-133. So I'm happy to present the results of the audit and open it up for any questions that you might have for me.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions from council? We just spent an hour, as you say, talking about this, but I guess not.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and I want to commend Mary and her team for the clean audit. They were very, very accommodating and were very prepared for us when we entered the field and fielded several questions and spent lots of time with us over the last month and a half, and we are happy to continue to work with the city of Winona, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like
Motion?
to make a motion to approve the report for publishing,
Second.
as indicated on
Okay,
our
moved by
agenda.
Al and seconded by Michelle. Questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.2 is the presentation of the award for financial reporting.
The Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada awarded a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting to the City of Winona for its comprehensive annual financial report for the year ended December 31st, 2012. This certificate is a national award which recognizes conformance with the highest standards for preparation of state and local government financial reports. On an average, approximately 11% of the cities in Minnesota receive this award. The city plans to continue to conform to the certificate program requirements for the future years. The certificate is awarded to the Finance Department, Mary Burrichter, Alan Bergmeyer, Danielle Fetting, Bill Cool, Carrie Putzier, Montana Weber, and Jessica Wohan. And I would like to pick up this 15-pound marble plaque and present it to Mary and the team. Two-wheeler, right? Congratulations. Good job, everybody. Good job. All right. There you go. Thank you. Now back to our regular schedule here.
Petitions, requests, and communications. Item 3.1, request for Winona Swim Club event.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion by Paul, seconded by Michelle. Discussion?
Yeah, I've got a quick question.
Okay, Al?
On Exhibit A, where it lists the times, they list the times as being Central Standard Time, parentheses. And I assume they mean Central Daylight Time, since that would be the frame that they're in. That would change the hours that they would be in and out of the pool, literally, I guess, at that time. Is there anybody from the Winona Wizards who could
Julie's here.
address them?
Julie from
Oh.
staff is here.
Okay. Pardon?
We'll change the time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.2 is a request by the Winona Swim Club for no parking areas.
I'd move to approve the request.
I'll second that.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Pam. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.3 is an application for an on-sale wine and malt liquor license for Blooming Grounds Coffee House.
Move to approve the license request.
Second that.
Motion by George, seconded by Pam. Discussion? Michelle?
I'm not gonna vote on this, only because Amy Jo rents from me, and it feels wrong.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And one abstention. Motion carries.
Item 3.4 is a request for premises permit for lawful gambling for the Winona Eagles Club.
Move to approve that request
Second.
for gambling during
Motion by
Steamboat
George,
Days.
seconded by Jerry. Discussion?
I have a
Pam?
question. I have a question. Yes, what kind of lawful gambling is this? What does this mean? Is this pull tabs or scratch off, or what is this? Nobody's here.
Is there anybody here?
I would imagine that's what it is. Pull tabs.
Pull tab?
I would imagine that too, but I can't stay
Okay.
specific.
Good question, I don't know.
Oh, I just have a, concern about the litter of these things, because I know they do get around their little pieces of paper. So, I'm in favor of this. I just was curious about what form of gambling they would be undertaking
Okay.
at the Steamboat Days tent.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.5 is a license agreement for the Winona Artisan Market.
I would move to approve the agreement and to authorize administration to execute the same would be in order.
I would second that.
Motion by George, seconded by Pam. Discussion?
Just an observation that if this parking lot is being used for the artisan market, perhaps the farmer's market folks might want to put other signage around directing people as to where they can park now that that lot is not going to be available, because it was probably very convenient to park in that lot, go to the farmer's market or the artisan market behind that, so. Just a suggestion, I support this, but, just a suggestion to them for changing the parking around.
I would agree. I know that is a very busy parking lot.
Right.
Very busy parking lot, and I'd hate for people to be discouraged from going to the market just because they're temporarily confused about where to park. So maybe some nice big sandwich boards or something out there would be.
Hello, Council and Mayor. My name is Jovi Rocky, and I'm one of the coordinators for the Artisan Market. And yes, we have noted that. We do have a representative here with the Farmers Market. And we will make signs to note that there is additional parking behind the movie theater, that there's additional parking behind the co-op, and obviously the 2-hour parking in the street side. So.
Good.
I think it's a nice enhancement for the artisans market, and I'm really glad the farmers market is in favor of it.
Yes, definitely. We're looking forward to working with them this summer, so it should be a great market.
Good. Good. Any other questions, concerns? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.6 is a request for amendment to a license agreement at 561 Zumbro Street.
I would move to motion to approve the request and to direct staff to execute the same.
Motion by George.
I would second this.
Seconded by Pam. Any discussion? George?
Is Bryce here tonight? Yes, I am. Yeah, just want to just come up here a minute, so.
State your name and address, please.
Hi, Mr. Mayor and the members of the council. My name is Bryce Lumen, and I'm the property owner at 561 Zumbro Street.
I stopped down by your residence last night about probably 7:30. Heard anybody knocking on the door, any neighbors wondering, there was a guy snooping around your house, that was me.
Okay.
And then I was there again after 2 o'clock today and see if you were there. I'm just looking at it, the alley that he's talking about, for those that are not familiar with it, the alley does dead end as you go east. There is no curb cut where you could enter that alley from Zumbro Street, and there's trees in there, and the alley services those houses. So, I would see no problem granting his request for the sidewalk and the patio, so.
Okay, other comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 3.7, appeal for junk removal charges.
Is Jennifer Beatty here?
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Jennifer Beatty. Hello, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I live at 620 East 3rd Street. I guess I'm here to fight for my right to CrossFit. I acknowledge that when the citation was initially ordered, the piece of equipment was left in my driveway for about a week. I acknowledge it was left too close to the alley for that particular amount of time. If you guys aren't familiar with CrossFit, it's a form of exercise, it's a full body workout. Obviously, owning this tractor tire, it's not like it fell off our tractor or our farm implement and we left it on our house in town. We purposely intended to own this item. It's something that we've owned for 4 years now. It's something that gets regularly used. I understand that we do not want our city muddled up by junk tires or things like that in the alleys. And that's not my intention. Whenever the citation was ordered, we moved the tire back onto our property. It was about 10 feet in, is my guess. I didn't do exact measurements. And it was on the property, in an enclosed fence, alongside my garage. It's something that gets used daily. There's no hazard for standing water, things like that. And it's something that whenever we moved into this particular neighborhood, we spoke to our neighbors about this. And everyone was very okay with it. I guess part of my question is, why after 4 years of owning this tire and living in multiple locations in Winona are we suddenly faced with, here's a junk tire? It's something that we obviously intentionally owned. I guess that's all I have to say on the matter.
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Mitch Hoy. I also reside at 620 East 3rd. The tractor tire was mine. I owned it for 4.5 years, and I guess I'd like to say that you're probably going to see more of these tires because as workout equipment, they're becoming increasingly popular across the board for all sorts of different fitness training for different sports. I don't know if you guys watch any fitness television, but tractor tires are presented all the time in lots of fitness activities. So there will likely be more. I know they have them at Howell's Gym and other locations around the city too. So addressing this issue, I mean, I guess I would like to get my tire back, and I know that this will probably come up again, so, thank you.
Question from
Yeah,
Al?
I've got a question.
Before you sit
Could you
down.
explain, or either of you explain how this tire is used in your exercise workout?
Certainly, okay. My tire was a 400-pound tire, and I would flip it on its lateral axis. And you flip it as a plyometric strength building exercise, like 10 to 15 times, and that'll wear you out pretty good. You can also use it as a jumping block, and I also used it for a target for sledgehammer work.
Ooh, okay.
So.
Does it make noise when it flips?
It does, but it's not like an offensive noise.
Good.
But you could find it in about 5 seconds.
Michelle, you had a question?
Yeah, I guess this is maybe a question for Steve. Because what I'm looking at is the violation they left with your address that says that leaving anything outside, tire or car related, that is not on a usable vehicle is the problem. It can't even be against the house. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct.
Or you have to have a facility that's licensed to have exterior tire?
Well, if you had a junkyard or a used car lot or something like that, you could have them, but they have to be covered and everything to prevent water for mosquito breeding. And they can have a tire, they just need to store it in the garage.
Okay, that was kind of my question, is because when I read the violation, it said that the violation was that it was stored outside, and I'm wondering when you got that, why you didn't put it in the garage?
Our garage has a boat and another vehicle in it. There wasn't any room for the tire. And at that point in time, it wasn't used for automotive, and it wasn't collecting water. It was under an awning. It was used daily, so water didn't collect in it. I think before, and it kind of amazes me, before the city went to the work of digging it out of our property, I mean, it was a workout for me daily to actually move this piece of equipment. You know, they could have had a discussion with us about its use and whether or not it could have been a hazard or collected water. I mean, there was no discussion with us. We moved it back to where it had been without issue for years, and then suddenly they came and collected it. And
I guess though, my point is they're working off of an ordinance that our city has that says tires cannot be stored outside. So I
Sure.
don't think the use is relevant to them.
Right.
It's relevant to you, I get that.
I would
but I
think,
to
you know,
them,
and I could definitely see that, you know, if somebody was like collecting tires for, you know, like hoarding tires for automotive use in their yard, or, you know, like in a junkyard use. This is obviously not meant for something in town, or, I mean, like automotive or tractor related. I mean, it was not junk. It was not stored or kept around or like an eyesore.
we even classify cars, brand new cars that don't have license as junk though. It's all about how the ordinance is written. So
Sure.
I guess I understand what you're saying, but I think from their perspective, from the tagging perspective, they left this note that was pretty specific that it couldn't be left outside.
It said
Because
move,
it's a
move
tire
junk
that's-
tire. It did not say,
And it said remove.
No, yeah, I have it right here, the ordinance that they left with you. It specifically lists what the problem was.
okay.
I mean, they checked it that it can't be stored outside because it's a tire, and it lists all of the things that can't be stored outside, one of which is a tire that is not attached to a workable machine,
Right.
unless licensed to have an outside tire. Am I reading this correctly?
Correct.
Okay,
And our phone number's on here, you could have opened the dialogue.
I have a question for you. You say it was under an awning, and the photo that I see here, it shows just a kind of a small overhang of the garage with the tires protruding
Between
on
two buildings
beyond
also.
that.
The building next to it was.
Is that the overhang you're referring to? Is the-
Yeah. And the other building that was only 10 feet away from it, so.
So there's nothing to prevent water from getting in this tire, though, from what I see here in the photo.
Well, when something's between two buildings that close together and up against a wall, I mean, I guess I'm just arguing a point here. But it
That's the
didn't
awning you're
regularly,
referring
it did
to.
not regularly collect water. And when it did, it was flipped. And, I mean, the water was removed from it, so.
Any other questions? George?
How long have you lived at this residence?
This particular residence, 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
And you said you had the tire at other residences, were those in town
Correct.
here?
Yes.
Okay, where were they, those other residences?
574 West 4th Street was my previous residence to this, and it was literally just out back in my yard at that point in time. I mean, that would have been way more of, according to this ordinance, I guess, more of an issue. But once again, it was used as exercise equipment, didn't collect water, so.
Steve, can somebody have a tire and fill it with sand, and is that acceptable?
Well, if they're using it for a sandbox, yes.
We can, okay.
But it's used to contain the sand for children to play in.
Okay. Jerry?
That's an excellent question, Mr. Mayor, and I think to somebody who doesn't understand it, you drive by, you think it's just a tractor tire sitting there being a problem. Yes, a dialogue should have started, but I do agree with these people, there's gonna be more and more of this. And I think we need to try to figure out, right now you guys are going with the letter of what was going on.
Correct.
And you were coming from two different worlds, but since they did get the letter, I guess it was upon you guys to make the phone call to start the dialogue. It didn't happen. I'm glad you guys are here, because you didn't show up at the last meeting. And I used to be a PT freak, and now I'm old and broken, but if I was still doing it, I'd have a tractor tire doing the same thing you guys are doing.
They're a lot of fun.
I try to find a 200-pounder, not a 400-pounder at my age, but I also see where Steve is coming from. Now, I want to explain something, what happens with the city. Every time one of these complaints come up, people will then notice, well, I see something here, I see something there. The way that our inspections department operates is by complaint for the majority of things. If they see something that's really out of line and it's then they'll do it. We don't have the staff to go door to door to door, but if there is a complaint, and then they go there, they put eyes on it, and it does fit the violation of an ordinance, that's what happens. So why it didn't happen in other locations, or if you've seen it it probably wasn't a complaint.
Can I address that particular issue?
Well, I think we should be able to speak.
Yeah.
Can I do that?
Well, let's let him finish his statement, please.
No, I don't know if we can change what happened here. I don't know if we can really go back and do this. I don't really know how we would even go about it, but the gentleman is correct. There's gonna be more of these, and they won't be refuse tires. They're gonna be a piece of equipment, much like one that's laying on the ground and filled up with sand and toys. That's obvious when you come and you see it that way sitting, then, oh, that's what it's being used for. So maybe we have to have a $5 license fee or something along that line to where it would become not a, because the gentleman's right, there's gonna be more of these. And then it becomes this uncomfortable thing, well, it's being used for a workout. And they can't just say it's gonna be used for a workout, we'd have to somehow or another figure that they'd have to pay something to have it.
Part of the problem is if they leave them outside and they don't use it for a period of time, which could be as little as 2 weeks, you get rain in it, you get tree hole mosquitoes breeding in it, and then you got a case of encephalitis. So I don't have a problem with them using them for exercise or anything, but put them in the garage.
I do have a solution for that. In the future, say we do a licensing program or something like that, you would require that the tires were drilled They could just drill a hole every, every like 60 degrees around the perimeter of the tire, and that would solve that issue.
I like what you're going with that, but I also agree with Steve. I think it would have to be in a building or covered. And a tarp, I would assume a tarp would be put over it, and something along that line may suffice. But you're right, if we get into the health issue, then we're opening up a whole other
But
deal.
then people, I mean, we have people try to hide stuff under tarps all the time as junk, and we're writing that up constantly too.
But if there is a dialogue and it is covered in some workable solution, but yeah, these are gonna come up more often. I'm glad you're here talking about it. I don't know if we can do much about this particular one.
Okay.
But I guess the lesson learned is when you get something, make a phone call.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Sadie, did you want to say something now?
Sorry.
Okay. Al?
Just a comment to the observation of drilling a tire. Gotta have a pretty good drill and a pretty good bit to do that through a tire, because they're pretty tough. I tried it once.
It's not easy.
Yeah. So especially their steel belts.
Wasn't on your car, was it, at the time?
Hole saws work in the side panels, and I've drilled lots of tires.
Okay, good, well, thanks.
If a
Good
person's
advice.
willing to go through, all the work to actually load a 400-pound tractor tire in a truck and get it somewhere, I mean, obviously they would probably go to the work to prepare it also to fit it over, so.
Thank you. Other comments, Pam?
Yes, I'd like to see these people get their tire back, and perhaps they would be able to keep it in the garage, move a few things around to keep it covered. Is that possible?
City doesn't have it, do they?
No?
We hired a contractor to pick it up and dispose of it.
And so it's nowhere we can find it anymore? No.
I don't know whether this is appropriate, but I would like to introduce something to have the planning commission look specifically at this ordinance and what we've heard today to see if we can't come up with some verbiage that deals with this down the road.
I would agree with that.
Is that in the form of a motion?
If it's appropriate, I'd be more than glad to introduce it.
All right, so we have a motion and a second for the planning commission to look into this ordinance. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. One opposed. Michelle. Okay, thank you. Are there any other motions that anybody wants to make? Just to be sure, okay.
Under new business, item 5.3 is to renew the joint powers agreement for the use of the LEC.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by George. I'm pleased to see this 10-year extension at the same terms. Good job to those that worked on it. Any other comments? Al?
I noticed too that there's a 5-year renewal after the 10 years. And why was 5 years picked instead of another 10-year renewal, I guess, would be my question.
I think, Mayor and Council, good evening. I think the term is 10 years, the extension is 10 years with the option to renew for 5 more after that. And that came from the city attorney's office. We reviewed the.
That was in the 87 agreement, I know that, but I guess materially, though, you didn't see any need to change the original agreement at this point.
Correct. Yeah, we went through it pretty thoroughly over a period of time.
Okay.
Seems to be working.
Yeah, it's a good bargain for both the county and the city, I think.
Any other questions?
Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.4 is the Teamsters 2014 labor agreement.
Move to approve the 2014 labor agreement with the Teamsters.
Second.
Motion by George, second by Michelle. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.5 is the final plat for Creekwood Fourth Subdivision.
I would concur with the commission's recommendation, and the attached resolution should be introduced for adoption approving this plat division.
I'll second that very nicely worded motion, George.
Motion by George, seconded by Michelle. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 7.1, council concerns.
Can't remember where we started last week, but we'll start with George tonight.
Okay, thank you. Keith, I meant to call you today. What is the condition of the bike path? I'm hearing there's a couple of spots on the bike path that are a little on the rough side, or you know anything about that, or?
Yep, the bike, council, mayor and council, the bike path was overlaid this year, and, you know, as bike path as well as a number of county projects, city projects, other projects cracked this year with the cold weather. I think we saw more cracks than anticipated, including the bike trail. We've already contracted with a company to come in and seal the cracks up. They'll route them out for us and seal them up like you would any other asphalt cracks in town. It's just the nature of asphalt. It cracks with the cold air. It cracked more than we thought it would.
Okay, now, as far as money, is there money in the bike path fund yet to pay for those repairs?
Yes.
Or if we want to use the word repairs, I guess, so.
Yep, there was money left over for maintenance.
Okay, all right, thank you. And also, Mankato Avenue Railroad crossing. I was caught in it coming for my 5:15 meeting today, so, but I did make it on time. But I trust that we will continue to look and get something done there to keep that intersection open. I have had the honor to serve as the Fourth Ward Council representative for 16 years. And during that time, I have built a lot of good working relationships with people and residents and businesses in the Fourth Ward. I have also worked hard to create and maintain good working relationships with businesses throughout the city. You have supported me well for the past 16 years, the residents of the Fourth Ward have, and I certainly appreciate that very deeply. And I again will be asking for your support in this coming election, as I will be filing for re-election to the Fourth Ward Council seat tomorrow morning, right after 8 o'clock. Thank you.
Pam?
Nothing this time.
Paul?
The city of Winona receives several requests each month and throughout the year for the dedicated use of public parking lots. And many businesses near or abutting those lots may depend on those lots for the convenience of their customers and employees. Prior to placing any request for closing dedicated or restrictive use of any public parking lots, the city should confirm the availability of private parking lots to serve the same event, if not available in the general area at a reasonable alternative location that could house the event, thus not putting the city in competition with privately owned parking lots or shifting the business impact from one business in favor of another business.
Okay, thank you.
And on that note, I'm going to talk about what a great success Touch a Truck was this weekend, which used public parking lots to great success, as the closed streets did as well. So thank you to the city. The trucks that you brought down were very popular. I think we guesstimated around 2,000 people turned out that day to participate. We had great weather, and just prior to that, we had the spring spruce up, so there were 36 odd people out sweeping and cleaning the streets just before we kicked off our event. And yes, Tesla was one of them. They got there bright and early. That was also a great success. So I'm going to disagree with Paul on this. I think the use of those parking lots as Acoustic and Midtown both commented that if they could somehow get Farmers Market closer to their location, they would be thrilled. So I thought it went really well. We're looking forward to planning it again for next year already. We had Excel Energy, Peterbilt, and Lawrence Trucking were our big sponsors for this event, and it was a lot of fun. I got to be a kid again. I Really loved that Vector truck and the giant cranes. It was a lot of fun to learn about them. They were a lot of fun.
And my only comment is that there are parking lots, like Kmart's parking lot, the mall parking lot, there are parking lots out there that aren't public lots that can be also utilized and also complementary to those businesses. And one of the problems we have downtown in particular, having had an office down next to Center Street, when Steamboat Days closed down, or is on, I know that several of the professional offices have to shut down because they don't have parking.
Well, we're downtown for Steamboat Days and we don't close.
Yeah.
But regardless, I
Right.
thought it went well, and Merchants Bank did let us use their lot as well, which was very kind of them. We also have Seussical, the musical, supporting HCO, coming out June 12th. Come on out, buy tickets, support that event. HCO is a fantastic downtown service-oriented industry, and they do a lot of good in the community. And then Main Street will also be putting on the Sweet Stroll in July, so look out for that. They hand out more sweets than any one person should eat in a day. That's all.
Thank you. Jerry?
Nothing to say there.
Al?
We approved a labor agreement this meeting for the Teamsters. I would ask our city manager to tell us how many more labor agreements we have remaining.
We have two agreements left, both are with the police department.
Okay, thank you. And then I also want to remind people, I'm surprised that Councilperson Alexander didn't do that, but the students who went to our sister city of Masato, Japan, are eager to share their experiences with anybody that would listen, I guess, but they're pretty fascinating experiences. And they have an event on May 27th, I think that's a Wednesday. Tuesday? Okay, Tuesday, at the Winona Middle School at 7 p.m. It starts at 7 p.m. I was there for the one last year. It was really fascinating to talk to the ambassadors who went to Masato at that time and came back and had some really great stories to tell, and really some, in some cases, life-changing events because of this program that the school sponsors and the city supports. So I, again, a plug to continue that program and to invite folks to the Tuesday, May 27th event at 7 p.m. at the Winona Middle School. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, under the consent, there are 3 items tonight. Item 8.1 is the approval of the minutes from May 5th. Item 8.2 is the final adoption of the ordinance to amend parking regulations on 4th Street. And item 8.3 is a claim against the city by Ruben Petkoff.
Move to approve the consent items.
Motion by Al, seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.